Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Hello and happy Friday or happy Saturday, wherever you are in the world. This is USA Global TV and Radio. I'm Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, and our show today is Coexistence and Sustainability. And if you missed it, last week, we celebrated our 175th episode. Woo! 3 years that Aminah and I have been working together. So today is 176, and we have another fabulous topic, which is remarkable rhinos, guardians of the grasslands. Let's welcome pet psychic Aminah. Not only is she a pet psychic, and she does talk to those who have passed over, she's also an expert if you're having issues with your pet and you're wondering what to do. She is a trainer and she's a public speaker, and she really cares what happens to this environment and to this world and to this planet that we love, planet Earth. Welcome, Aminah. Hello.
Thank you so much. And sunny and warm in your place, it's sunny and warm in mine.
Well, it makes it easier to be positive, doesn't it?
It does. I mean, there's actual science out there. We know that people go through great depressions during rains, and especially when it rains as much as, sad to say, where you're at. You just get the humidity, and I would assume some countries like England are the same way. It's just moisty, moisty, moisty.
Yeah, actually, we had one of our show hosts from London on today, and she said it was super hot. You know, they don't have air conditioning there. So that in and of itself really can impact your health and your life. But today we're talking about rhinos, and I think that rhinos live in places where it's extremely warm. And I love the fact that each week we're looking at different animals. And just to give our audience a little bit of background, part of the big reason why we're doing this is because we care about all animals, all creatures, big and small, because they're all here. We're all here for a reason. Tell us a little bit about your passion for coexistence and sustainability.
It's a wonderful short term that we're now really able to use, because when I do a lot of public speaking, and just trying to get that word in and figure out, what does it mean? What does it mean for all of us? It means that when you throw your trash on the ground and say, somebody will get it, we're all wondering who somebody is now. We're all trying to figure out what that happened. And we've all had that gum wrapper or something get away with from us. And it happens. But doing it together and realizing that piece of paper, that gum wrapper, whatever it is, don't even get me started on the gum. It lasts like 10 or 15 years, depending on how much weather, like rain and snow and high temperatures and low temperatures, that all helps the environment to biodegrade and create more soil. But if it's a processed piece that got set free, like gum, we were just talking about that, it is almost impossible to get that to be smaller any hundreds of times. Years is coming. You're going to have that gum still sticking on the post or wherever it is. I've actually seen them. I don't know if you have, Dr. Jacalyn, where you go someplace and you got a rail or something. It doesn't matter, wood or anything. And then there's gum. Then you're like, yeah, that does, you might think that's funny and cute. It's not. It's not. Gum can actually kill the wildlife. They don't understand it. They're going to test it. How does an animal test it? Taste it. How many cats and dogs do we all have? And they lick it or they smell it and then lick it, and they're trying to get the feel of it. What is this? What does it do? What should I do with it? Well, if you can imagine, we chew the gum, but we don't necessarily swallow it. It's not what it's meant to do. Can you imagine if an animal comes up and swallows a whole bunch of it? You're going to have a blocked something. And I don't think the vet is on their, double cell phone call. I don't think that's the thing. It actually will kill them. So be careful what happens to our trash.
Absolutely. And of course, we could talk about cigarette butts and a million other things that impact the animals and go into the soil. And people think they just disintegrate. For example, when dogs, they do their business and people leave it there and they think, oh, the sun's going to beat down on it or the wind's going to come and it's going to disappear. No, it doesn't disappear.
Well, exactly. And what a lot of people don't really get, I love where you put us. If you think about your dogs going out, I live in a condominium context and I got neighbors everywhere, but they put these little strips of bushes. I don't know what that is, because every couple of months they have to come and trim them because they're out in the walkway. And I'm thinking, nobody thought through this plant well, because there are plants that just go straight up. They could have easily done that, but you also have to get out of your car. So this is that place where your people are walking their dogs. Absolutely. Oh, I'll just do them on the side and it won't hurt the grass. Okay. But what happens to the child that's running down the street and they go run in the bushes, or the person that drops, oh God forbid, their purse or their groceries, and they don't see that big pile of dog waste, and it is waste. We don't feed our dogs, 90% of us don't feed our dogs raw chicken, buffalo number one, whatever you want to call that. If you were eating a typical, what a wolf would eat, and that's their cousin, closest cousin, they're going to have all that. It's going to biodegrade. So their poop might do the same. It's still going to take time. It's not an instant thing. But because we feed processed food for cats and dogs, squirrels, and whatever else you're talking about, whatever animal, that's why the feces matter. People don't get it. There's a mechanism in the science you're not hearing. And that is, if you don't feed your dog like it's a wild animal, you're going to have poop everywhere. And it's going to be there for days, weeks, years, whatever. It is not good for the plants. It'll make great fertilizer. We do it with cows. Seeing what a cow eats and how much he chews it up. And then it goes through one stomach, then goes through the next stomach. Then, it's great stuff because they filtered it. They made it better. But it's straight from green grass and trees and things that they ate, not processed food. So it's a big difference. It's a huge difference.
So we want to leave you with, please pick up. That's what we really appreciate. Pick up your trash, pick up your dog waste. Exactly. And when I was doing some research about the rhinos, what I thought was really interesting, I didn't realize that certain of them live to be 40 or 50 years old.
Exactly.
And they also have that special skin.
Yes.
That special
It's literally armor. It really is. And I don't want to speak too much in case I've got the facts wrong, because I haven't talked about this in a while, but their skin and people having, used them for food and making clothes, their hide has been used for centuries as part of our clothing because they stay waterproof, because they have warmth, because they, longevity of their skin working. So rhinoceroses truly have what we call like an armor, because their skin is one of the most, strength sticking together. You get this in the sheep, well, you're just getting the fur. And that's great because we have learned that we can just shear that and make blankets and a number of things without killing the animal itself. So sadly, we still are in the trophy hunting. Time still happens.
Yeah, very true. The other thing that I thought was interesting is that they can run at 35 miles an hour. I told you before when I was in Florida that we have iguanas everywhere and they can run up to 11 miles an hour. And I thought that was fast. And you have these big, heavy rhinos with the big horn and they're able to run that fast. And I don't think they have very good vision. So
No, their eyes are pretty small. So that alone, but no, they don't have really good vision, but who cares? Because if they get your leg, your ear, or your backside, it's still gonna hurt. We have to remember, even though you've got bats that prefer the dark, so they're not going to see well in the daytime, and all kinds of animals, they have different diets, they have different things they love, they have a different way to actually their feces come out. Have you seen a bird? What a mess.
Yeah, you can look at my car after I just had it washed.
Yeah, look at a mess that they leave. I don't care which bird you're talking about. It's just bleh everywhere. It's on their house, it's on their car, that's on everything. But yet you go down to a different one. Your penguins aren't technically birds. They have no feathers, but they've seen that way, and they're eating whole fish. I don't think that's a pooping problem because their stomach is digesting it. They go back in the water. It all fills up. But you cannot do that with a dog and a cat. You can maybe with a hamster, but he's usually in a cage. And so I want everybody to think about it. Yes, we have all these amazing animals, but if you look at where they live and how they live, so if they're in the tundra, you've got a whole nother thing. Can you imagine the hide alone on those animals, and why that so many indigenous humans took those animals like the bears and all that to make their clothes? Because who's the warmest? The bear. The other one, not the penguin. I promise you, they're doing their thing, but they like the ice and the cold. They can handle that. It's amazing how much we owe, and I want to really remind everybody this. We owe all our ingenuity of building buildings. It wasn't exclusive, but Dr. Jacalyn, do you know where we got our ideas for building our homes and our businesses?
You know, I like multiple choice, but you're not giving it to me. I'm going to go with the beaver.
Nope.
And
he changed the waterway. The beavers changed the water direction, and a lot of contractors don't like it very much because, oh no, we want to go left. And then they do that. They move the water, and then the whole town gets flooded. And the beavers should just say, "See, I told you so." But they create a whole different ecosystem from where the dam they build and behind, because that's where they're trapping the water. And there's so much science out there now where people are really finally watching animals, how they do it. How are they getting through it? So what I was talking about is all the fur. Their skin, their outside is made for the climate they are born in. And that's the way it works. So if you transplant, if you transplant any kind of animal, snake to a donkey, to whatever, they have to be adjusted to just like us. I'm going to wear maybe a heavier coat when I go to Alaska in the middle of snow season. Luckily, I've been to Alaska, but I went in the summer. It's still got snow on the ground, but it's not that frigid cold that you just don't go out for. It seems like a really bad time to go visit someplace like that. But animals do it better. And if you really want to see, hey, how's the animal here? Well, where's that animal originate? If your animal, like we're talking about, so many that are hybrids, you got this one coming and this one coming. Humanity has done a lot of that. They've mixed up animals into other things. So you need to take into your life and say, okay, how can I do this better and not kill everybody? I love flowers, luckily, but my goal with my patio full of plants is to support the honeybee. Right. Because we're really, really, really in trouble there. And that's how we get our food. That's how people get beautiful flowers. But if I can feed a couple of 5 or 6 or 12, whatever shows up, that's great. Because I'm not afraid of them. I've worked with beehives, with the whole suit and everything. I just know I have to work calmer, slower. There's no rushing. Because once you get around any kind of animal, even the insects, and you get anxious and you get afraid, they feel all of that. We're sweating or not sweating. Those are all signals to an animal. What's wrong and who's dying? Because if you're really anxious, yeah, that's where they're going to take it in their mind. Who do I kill first? Because I don't see anybody of danger. So
Right.
remember that when you're around another animal and you're really, really, really stressed, maybe leaving the room and taking another turn or doing it slowly. I'm not saying don't be around animals. Just be around somebody who's responsible and lets you just like maybe pet their ear and you walk away. And the cat will look at you like, well, that wasn't fun.
You know, it's interesting. One of my family members posted a picture. He went hiking, and in the middle of the trail, there was a rattlesnake, and it was rattling. It was very loud. It was rattling, and it was literally in the middle of the path. And he just stood there very slowly and walked backwards. But our tendency would probably be to start screaming and yelling and picking up things and throwing it at it. And then that just takes it to a whole other level.
Yeah.
And I think if you think about the snake, I mean, we were just talking about rhinos and how fast they can run 35 miles an hour.
Right.
They can move pretty fast.
Yeah.
So I think also, I don't know if it's with all animals, but maybe running in a zigzag.
Yes.
You know,
it's always recommended because they can do that. They can zig and zag, but they're going to be a little bit more, what the heck is that human up to?
Right.
Because it's not a normal response. It's fight or flight for us. That has been the motto. Every psychologist reads it. We've written tons of books. Let me encourage everybody to take a deep breath, even if it's just a little one that you take through your mouth and you're pretending to take a deep breath, and hold still and let everything calm down, especially you, because they can smell all that endorphins running and the sweat running down your shirt, and say, you know what? I've decided to go that way. You keep your eye on the animal, insect, the snake, whatever it is, and slowly, calmly as you can, back up. Especially get as far as you think that they can lunge. So if we're talking a snake, depends on the snake. Could be 2 feet, it could be 6 feet, it could be 12 feet. You need to keep eye contact. It's the same thing, I think. Maybe this is a good analogy for somebody. That let's say you're angry at your friend or something like that, and you don't want to look at them, and you're still going to lunch, but you're not going to look at them or whatever. Eye contact has, across the board and species, has such power. Remember that. It can be good for good power, or it can be for bad, and everything in between. But you looking at somebody and you just have a really tough face, do you think they're saying, yeah, that's going to be my new buddy? No, because I think he's mad at me and I don't know why. It's interpretation. Walk slowly. Snakes all can jump at you, bite you, all that. Having been bitten by a non-poisonous snake, I was bitten about 6 or 7 times. And I just stood there because I had a bunch of children with me. And I really needed to get across that I wasn't going to be dead. I wasn't going to bleed to death. The snake was just panicked because the children got very excited, even though we kept the numbers pretty low. It was like, that's okay. And then my boss asked me if I wanted the day off. And I went, no, I'm good.
So, Amina, thanks for sharing those great tips for all of us in case we encounter some type of wildlife and sharing how we should react. With the rhinoceros, that's depending on where you live in the world, that's not a creature that you're going to run into for the most part. I'm not going to walk outside and see a rhino there.
Because if you do, I want pictures.
I'll take them from inside the house. But the other thing I saw about rhinos is they love to roll around in the mud. They like to get dirty.
Yeah, and this is all about bug control. If you've ever been anywhere with mosquitoes, I got to spend part of a summer in Alaska during the summertime, not the snow time. And they're famous for their mosquitoes. And you know, stuffy bears, we call them stuffies when they're just a general. So they actually have mosquitoes, little stuffed bears like things, but there's mosquitoes hanging like in gift shops and places you go. Even the gas station is so funny when you drive someplace that if you've never heard of what the Alcan Highway is, it's a traditional one that the monks came and did the missions, and all the missions are on that path. And so you can walk it, you can ride it and all that stuff. But wow, what you miss What you miss is as you go through the different topography and the different plants, different animals. In whole, in generality, I would say the most important thing you do with any animal not positive interaction, because a pet on a leash, so probably a dog, you'd ask the owner, please always ask the owner, may I pet your dog? May I pet your cat? May I pet your whatever? Always check in with them, because they're going to know if this is going to be a problem or not. Because last you want is to be bitten by something. And is this a good time to tell my I got bit by a snake story?
We can come back to that. Let's just, for the moment, I just wanted to talk about rhinos a little bit more, because one thing that I read was that in Africa, they were really the target of poachers, and the poachers became very sophisticated, and they even started using helicopters to track them.
Yep.
And what they really wanted from what they want is the rhino's horn, and the horn is made out of the same thing as our fingernails, which is interesting. Yep. So I think that the poaching was diminished for a while, and then I guess they got more sophisticated in their tracking methods. And I don't know how much the actual horn goes for, but think about how traumatic that would be to.
Well, yeah, because basically the entire animal is lost because of the bleeding. Is, you know, can you imagine if you ripped off your fingernail?
Yeah,
and I mean, in a terrible, horrible ripped off, not just clip. And you have no way to stop that blood. This is what happens with the horn. There's been a lot of controversy back and forth about, oh, well, we're going to get an epoxy and we're going to put it over his horn. And it's like, dude, the horn is so that he doesn't get killed by anybody else, so he can stand his ground. You just took his entire way of supporting his own family and making sure he can be the alpha, because that's not going to happen. And for some reason, I've never looked into this, and I always think about it when I have this topic, is when they cut that horn off, there's a lot of blood vessels in there. And so they basically bleed to death if they don't get killed by a lion or something else that already sees they're down. So I'm not sure why the horn is so attached to the blood vessels, but it really is. And it's really that bad. Just think about it. Are you planning on, ending somebody's life for a horn that you're going to do what? Put it on a shelf? When we had Native Americans and tribes, nothing went to waste. They used it as a tool, and they never killed an animal for just the horn. They got the whole thing, fed their whole family, and the horns were part of that as tools. Sadly, there's too many people that just take one piece, which still kills the animal, but the rest of it's wasted.
Yeah, and by the way, imagine if someone ripped all your fingernails off, like how are you going to function? I mean, I guess eventually, but you're like, the rhino is going to bleed to death. So I would just encourage people to think about what all the ramifications are of everything that we do when it comes to impacting the other creatures that are here on this earth. And I love what you shared earlier, which is, especially when you think about breeding dogs and how they're mixing breeds. And so now you have some hairless dogs that are living in cold climates, and you go on and on. But each animal gets basically what it needs to survive in the environment that it's in. And then man comes in and, starts building, and then the animal kingdom's disrupted and they have to relocate. And then it's a tough one.
It is, because you're now deciding who lives and who dies. And in the great description you gave, it is gruesome. So I don't know about you. I've lost a toenail before, stubbed my toe when I was a kid. I think we all did, because we were walking around without sandals and shoes like they do now.
I did from running. I've lost the same toenail, I think 3 times.
I got it twice. I only did the big toe
and it grows
twice.
back, but it's not the same. It's
and it comes back either thicker or rumbled or something mangled. And you're like, that doesn't look pretty. Luckily, I can wear shoes. But I've did it on my own fingernails. That was terrible. And I kept telling my dad, no, it's fine. Just leave it. Because, it needed to come off. But to this day, I can feel the ripples. of
Yeah.
where that finger went, yeah, no, we're not liking that. Because they will grow back, but will they grow back as healthy?
Yes.
Probably not. And
Right.
that's the same for everything in nature. We can trim flowers and bring them into our home, which I love because I grow a lot of plants, and some I grow just so I can trim the flowers. But they come in and they lose their petals, and they go on. And we can put those things back in the soil. That's not true for a lot of stuff we do. A lot of stuff we do.
Yeah, and when you think about it, all these topics that we discuss, how they all come together, it's a
Yes.
synergy. It's like going and watching an orchestra, and there's a conductor, and everyone's, this is your part and that's your part, and that's how it makes beautiful music, by everyone working together, not just
Absolutely.
saying, well, no strings and no, whatever it might be.
Right.
So that's why we want people to really pay attention to what we're sharing. We're not preaching anything, we're just giving education.
Yeah. Hopefully enlightening you. You can't fix something if you don't know there's a problem.
Right.
So we're basically just sharing with everybody that, hey, we're going to be your biggest cheerleaders. We're going to be your biggest adversaries, because for me and for anybody, it's baby steps sometimes. I get in trouble. We've talked about this before, and I did it just as before the show came on. I noticed that the trash man had come and gotten one of our trash cans, but not the second one. And half of the paper that I had shredded was on the ground on the driveway. And I'm thinking, well, that's not going to work. And if I wait, it's just going to keep blowing, and I'll never know where it went, and then I'll feel terrible about that. It's the simple things. If you see a piece of paper that doesn't need to be on the ground and there's a trash can in front of you, why not throw it away? Well, it's not mine. It's not my fault. I was, wait a minute, there's no fault here. This is us coexisting and watching out for each other for the best life we can all live. Guess how happy everybody would be? Wouldn't that be amazing? Everybody being happy?
Yes, that would be phenomenal. It actually would be. So you wanted to share your story about getting bitten by a snake.
Mm. Yeah. So this was when I was, my mid 20s, and I was working with kids. No, I actually was younger than that. Anyways, because I started working with wildlife when I was 9. And so I was out on a walk with these kids. We were explaining, we're in the desert, Southern California, high desert. The great Joshua tree is out there, but they all got lots of weeds and stickers and that kind of stuff. So we had one of the guides with me found a garden snake. It's very, very easy going kind of snake, except for when you bring 7 children going, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. And we're all like, calm down, calm down. So while I am demonstrating this snake, I've got him by the head, and the tail is actually around my arm at this point. And I guess I didn't hold his head tight enough, because of course I don't want to hurt him. And he turned around and chomped on my hand. Oh, about 5, 6, 7 times. He just kept chewing on me. And I stood there and smiled and went, okay, hey guys, why don't you go find your cabin leaders and go find out what other colors. But oh my God, are you? Oh yeah, the kids were screaming and everything. I got the rest of the day off from work, and it's like no big deal. It was like, here's the bandage, and really it was like, because I've been asked, what's it like to be bitten by a snake? Well, it's like getting shots, like 5 at a time, and it healed beautifully. So I thought it was kind of silly for me to sit around for the rest of the day, but it's just like, okay. Luckily, I love snakes, but I am very, very good at staying away from getting bitten a second time, and I've continued to handle them.
And also staying in the house is a good one.
Yeah, that does help. But you miss out on so many things.
Yes,
So
you need the sunlight.
I didn't even include the fabulous butterflies that my patio is attracting with the honeybees. So it's just lovely. I wish I had a bigger patio, so I had that lawn chair type thing there, and take out a good book or just watch the plants grow.
You've got a great ecosystem there.
Exactly. My biggest thing is the honeybee, because it really matters. This is how our food is made. This is who you need to go to, not all the grocery stores, not all the chain stores. You need to realize that a honeybee is so vital. And the weed killers we have out today are still decimating them. So do be creative. There's tons of tutorials on just YouTube, much less the whole planet of digital, that people have come up with such ingenuity of add this powder, or, and I'm talking about like baking powder or something else that will work and deter them from, chewing up your plants or get netting. Oh, I don't like how it looks. Well, it keeps everybody alive and your plants aren't toxic. Because every time we spray something that's toxic or spread something that's toxic, it goes in the breeze and goes down and who knows, destroys another plant that can't handle it. Just, I want to get people thinking and saying there are other ways we can do things. There are.
Absolutely. And working together after you have the knowledge and the information, that really makes a difference. So we talked about this a little bit last week, I think, when we were talking about giraffes, but I thought it's important to mention it. So you have an animal in the wild, let's say a rhino, and then I don't know what the process is, but somehow the rhino goes from Africa to your local zoo. How does that work? Do you know?
Well, there's a huge licensing process with the government. And years and years and years ago, from what I understand, because I wasn't in that industry, I didn't have any place to put a rhino. I'm sure I would have loved it. But they would go in and they would, it's like culling, where you take out the weak one, or you take out, not the alphas and the megas, not. So if you're in a herd of any kind, they will, a lot of times governments will say, well, okay, we'll let you have this, like here or now. Today, from what I understand, everybody rents it. They have a rhino for 6 months and they have it in their zoo, and it's a big, big party in the zoo. We got this white rhino, da, 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 da. And then it goes back to the country of origin. And we got a giraffe, or we got this, or we got that. That is more commonly done today than ever before. First of all, everybody found out the financial difference. So they don't own this animal. They don't have to necessarily do the medical, and they don't have to do the shipping, and they still have to clean up after it, of course, and give it a home. Well, we got plenty of zoos that have all that already in structure. Then these animals go back to their home countries. So people can, what we're trying to do, what I know I have been a part of, is education. If you don't, humanity seems to do better if they can touch, feel, or hold, or have the sob story and understand an animal from that core. So if you want your neighbor to like your dog, maybe you guys go for a walk with the dog. I know people who are afraid of them, but little by little you get educated, and little by little you get used to being around a dog. It really helps with phobias. It helps with neighbors who don't like dogs or think they don't because they bark all the time, or you can teach them what they're barking about. This is great alarm system if you've got somebody who's planning to steal something for your house. You can build those relationships, especially you get pack animals like dogs. Cats are a different modality. Oh, well, I don't want to clean a litter box. Well, then you probably shouldn't have a cat. I've actually seen people who have cats and they let them out to go to the bathroom. And they're going to get this lecture from me of, it's not biodegradable. Oh, and all the plants will use it. No, they won't in like 20 years unless you're feeding them raw food. And I'm still not recommending they go poop out in public because nobody wants that. But remember, we're all dealing with sentient beings that have a place here. And once we recognize that and honor that, I think we'll all have better relationships. I think. What do you think, Dr. Jacalyn?
I agree with you. I do want to go back to something that you said earlier. So in this process of the animals are literally rentals, so to speak, and they go from place to place. I know you had said before that once an animal is out of the wild and it's in captivity, that it won't be welcomed back to its herd. So how does that actually work then? Or they just go to a zoo back in their country?
Yeah, pretty much. Or they get shipped, from zoo to zoo to zoo to zoo, depending on how it's done. what I understand is still true today, that's been true for the last 15 or 20 years, is there's a moratorium on bringing any wild animal into zoos, into sanctuaries. There's a whole different criteria. A sanctuary should be someplace where an animal's coming to live out the rest of their life, and they cannot be put back into the wild areas of anything. Some animals can. Pack animals, it's possible, not guaranteed. Nothing's guaranteed. You can have a new alpha in the pack, let's say of coyotes or any of the dog breeds, if you want to look at it that way, and you take the alpha out. You have them for, I don't know, 6 years, 6 months, whatever. That pride, those are lions, or that pack, guess what, has already chosen a new leader. They don't go leaderless. They choose somebody else. It might not be the strongest one, and might not be the bravest one, but that's how that dynamic works. So do you think you can bring yours back and it all works? Well, no, there's probably going to be a big old fight with the new one and the old one, and every other thing that we just don't know. We're not living that life. Why we don't want anybody to take wildlife out of the wild. That's where it needs to be. And from supplies of food to the topography and the landscaping, nature will make sure it has enough resources and not too many resources, because that's how that is done. Is their bodies, wild animals, typically their bodies have babies when there's enough nutrition, not only for the mother and father, but for the baby afterwards. And it's how nature and we coexist together. What people don't do well is moderation of anything.
Yep, that's right. They're just one way or the other way.
I want it.
And I want it now. I want it right now. I want it my way.
Yeah. I don't care if it's plastic. What do you care if it's plastic? I said, because you can't recycle it. Because you can't burn it down to something useful, at least something, and it's going to be there like forever. Well, why do I care? Well, because I don't know, you might have friends or grandkids someday or something. You don't care if you left the world behind and destroyed it in the process. And that's what litter does. I drive my family crazy because I go all kinds of places, and I will pick up the litter. I go wash my hands, of course. But that's something I know I can do. And we've all been there. Honestly, we've all been there where you've had a piece of paper or Kleenex and it blows out of your hand. And if you grew up where I did, in 60 mile per hour winds, I don't care how fast you run, you're not going to get that piece of paper back. And it can be heartbreaking for people like me who want to pick all that up. That's why I'm just saying, just be really careful. Accidents happen. We all get a Kleenex out of our bag and boof, it ran away. It's not possible sometimes for people who have disabilities to go chase after that. But the animals will. And what is the first thing an animal does? If you've got a dog or a cat, especially the dogs first and foremost, cats are a little more reserved. What do you think they do to figure out this new person or this new food you're giving them? Dr. Jacalyn, what do they do?
Smell it.
Yeah, they go up and go, hey, do I want anything to do with this? They do it with your hand. So why we always say when you come up to an animal that you've asked the owner, hopefully they're on a leash, may I pet your dog? May I pet your cat? And especially if you're in public and you don't know this person, you better be asking. But offer them one of your hands to smell. That's all. They get a kind of a DNA, scent of you and what you smell like. Some people, smoke cigarettes. Some people smoke pipes. Some people take medication. We all have a different smell. Some of it ate a ton of garlic the night before. The dog will look at you. Why do you smell so different? It is a courtesy. It's the same thing. I would think everybody can have their own opinion. When you meet somebody for the first time and you put out your hand to shake their hand, it's a classic respect. Hi, glad to meet you. Blah blah blah. Animals have something similar. They're going to smell you. So I always put my hand out and let them come the rest of the way. I will come, for example, half the way, but there's plenty of distance, but I put my hand out. And that animal will either walk towards me for those 2 or 3 steps we need to shorten. They'll smell my hand and go, yeah, okay, that was boring. And some animals won't care at all. But they have the right to be respected and say, hey, can I pet your dog to the owner and do whatever that they go with? And or I, for once, when the dog starts to look at me, I put my hand down and say, hi, how are you? And we go on. There's no reason that animals in the wild and or in our homes shouldn't expect the same respect. Because what did we talk about? We need them for food. We need them for water. Going back to the honeybee, if you like pretty much anything, a bee might be very much in the making of it. Do you like eating venison or deer or bear or whatever? Guess what they're eating? Whatever the honeybee was able to get pollen from here to here to here to here to here. We're all a circle. So it matters what you do. If you drop some trash, we've all done it, and it blows away. I'm the one running down the street trying to pick it up, make sure I don't get hit by a car. But I know how long garbage sits, from just paper, which is some of the shorters, to plastic, never. That's never going to be biodegradable. So it doesn't hurt you to pick it up. Sometimes I know people sometimes carry bags with them when they know they're going to go hiking, and that's something that they can do on the trail. Because it happens. It happens. People drop things.
Yeah, it makes you feel good. I saw someone doing it out front. So we've covered a lot of topics today on episode 176, which is fabulous. We have to close out as our next show is starting momentarily. So how can people reach you, and who would you like to contact you?
When you have a question about your pets, whatever that is it the time to let them go? They're at the end of life. I can help you. I can help you with what I hear and tell you which pets are going through and or what they need. And it's a conversation that I share with you gladly. So please, bridgingworlds.us is all about me. And then of course you can look at all our shows here on the channel and giving away as much free advice if possible. But it's all about you and your family and what I can do to help to clear up the conversation. I love talking to animals, and hopefully they do that with me. And when you talk to your animal, it's even better because they learn the English language better.
Well said, as always, my friend. Thank you so much. And thank you, everybody, for being here. Stay tuned for royal breaking news from London.
Neat.
Coming up next. We'll be back next week with another fabulous show. Until then, stay safe. And remember, you're not here alone. There's a whole community of us.
Absolutely.
All looking different. All right. Bye for now, everyone.
Take care, everybody.
Bye. This program has been brought to you in part by Zane Carson Carruth, etiquette and protocol expert, international award-winning author, television show host, and philanthropist. Thank you to Zane, our official diamond sponsor for USA Global TV and Radio in partnership with E360 TV. Zane is the author of The World's First Tooth Fairy Ever, as well as many other children's books. She's also the television host of Elegance, Polished Demeanor, and Posh Living, seen on USA Global TV and Radio.
Hi, my name is Zane Carson Carruth, and I'm the author of this book, The World's First Tooth Fairy Ever.
Reading is magic. Studies have shown that reading to your children lays the foundation for greater success in life. Reading helps develop language and vocabulary skills. It helps improve memory, and it encourages curiosity and inspires creativity. The benefits are immeasurable, and as a parent, you'll benefit too. In only 10 or 15 minutes a day, you'll be creating more memories and a bonding experience that will last for years to come. So take time to read to your children. Read them books about things that engage and interest them. Tales of fairies and magic fascinate children, and as everyone knows, the Tooth Fairy is at the top of the list. If your child loves magic, wands, adventure, and what child doesn't, you'll love reading them books from the trademarked series, The World's First Tooth Fairy Ever. Follow along as Bella, the world's first tooth fairy, accidentally starts the tooth fairy tradition. Learn the tricks of being a professional tooth fairy in the book, Bella Starts a Tooth Fairy School. Your child's imagination will soar as you read the adventures of Bella and her magic wand. These wonderful books are available at worldsfirsttoothfairy.com and at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Walmart.
To learn more about Zane, contact her through her website, zanecarruth.com, ZANECARRUTH.com. Order Zane's books and merchandise. Contact her about being a keynote speaker at your next event.